We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We are Baltimore positively getting here into March, into the crab cake season. On Wednesday, we'll be at Gertrude's with my cousin John Shields at the BMA, representing my friend Dan Rodericks in his 1966. Apparently, there is a reference to Luis Aparicio in the show. Dan has told me that, so if you hear anything here this week about that, that is in reference to that at the BMA. Friday will be at Costas and Dundalk. Tuesday will be at Missoni's in Perry Hall. I'm currently wearing my Coco's shirt because I missed the ribs and the coleslaw and the delicious burger night that she has down at Coco's. Leonard Raskin joined us last week, and the week before that. At some point, we'll get a crab cake out. I know you'll be running around here at springtime, and the next time we get together, the Lamar thing, the Tyler Linderbaum thing. It'll be opening day when we get together next time. So, what is on your mind sports-wise in regard to the football team? Because Luke and I talked about it this week. Like, the combine was something we were more into years ago, and I don't know that everybody's talking about it or that we're into the underwear Olympics, but there is this exhale we get from football that we all have a little withdrawal, and now we're like, all right, when's a draft? When's the players?
Right,
What's up with
right.
Lamar? Who's Tyler Linderbaum going to play for? The tampering period. Isn't that wonderful that they've designed a tampering period for the
Well,
contracts?
you're not allowed to talk during certain periods of the year. They give everybody a week off, or however long it is that they get to not talk to new teams or about themselves or sign contracts or whatever it is. Obviously, everything's still going on everywhere all the time. So whatever they call it, they call it. They make themselves happy. Combine, some fast dudes out there, I can tell you that. The only thing I really paid attention to was, of course, a few Buckeyes that ran some seriously fast 40s, and then a couple other guys that ran even faster than that, which was just ridiculous.
You're a
Uh,
Buckeye for life. You're in for
for
the
now,
for now. For
who
now.
knows?
Okay.
For now, it's still there. It's still there. As long as the boy's interested, I'll stay interested. Until when he's done, then it's
It
whatever.
is interesting to me, like the Capitals for me were something that was a really important part of my life.
Right,
The Terps were seeing like people were into the Terps, then they're not. I mean,
right.
I don't want to say bandwagon at all.
No,
And
of
as you know,
course.
as much as I've made a deal this week that
Mine was
Katie Griggs
tuition
and
wagon.
the new
Tuition
Oriole
wagon.
people don't want me in, so I mean, I've been banned by both of the teams now.
So
Both
there's
of them are
band
trying to
wagon.
get as many fans as they're trying to, they don't want people to not cheer for them and to go off the bandwagon
Right.
like the Wizards wish they had a bandwagon
Oh
at
my
this
God, the
point, right?
Wizards wish they could win.
Yeah, you're right. Bad teams and bad places and
Didn't
bad
they just
spaces.
get
And
the brow? Didn't they get the brow? The
who's that?
Wizards.
Who's that?
Anthony Davis, isn't that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Isn't that who it is?
I think so. I
Didn't
don't
they?
know.
They traded
I
for
don't
him, and
follow.
I don't either. But they're terrible. They don't win anything.
Well, that is my point about like when you get to the point of irrelevance, and the Orioles
Yes,
have been there a long time, the Ravens are so relevant that they take a week off. We miss it. I begin my segment with you. You might not
yep.
even be thinking about Lamar, but this better be a week that they figure the Lamar contract
They
out.
got to get it.
We are now to
They
the
got to
point
get
where
it.
like you're Mr. Money Guy, Mr.
Well, they're
Raskin
talking
Global
about it.
Investor.
They're
This
talking
is the
about it.
money we're talking about. This is
They're
the
talking about it. You
his
know they're
agent gets
talking
on the
about
phone. Well, he is
his
his
mother,
mother gets on the phone with Eric, and they fight about
and they discuss what the
restructure.
contract is. Right. Everybody restructures, and they're going to restructure. You know that. What are they going to do? He's going to take longer money. I don't know how it works. I have no idea how these contracts work. I got to tell you, I don't even try. It's none of my concern. The only thing that concerns me is the bill to pay for a couple seats to go watch them play. And yeah,
And
I
that never
understand.
goes down, by the way.
Oh no, 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 no! They're very nice to their season ticket holders. They keep the ticket price level for a couple years, and then they inform you after they've kept them level for a couple years that, oh, by the way, it's now time to raise the prices because we were so nice to you. We didn't raise them for a couple years. Now we're going to raise them on you, and we're going to recapture all the inflationary costs we didn't charge you over the other years. So instead of small incremental increases, we're going to go with significant 1 year increase to catch up. And so
Well,
that's how they roll.
I shared this out on Facebook, Leonard.
Yeah,
This is the salary cap.
unbelievable,
So I
huh?
want you to just take a look down here that it went backwards from 20 to 21 because
Yeah, well,
they didn't get as much revenue, right?
COVID.
Because COVID happened, right?
COVID
So,
year.
so if you look here, they hit 100 million
Yeah.
in 2006. So it went from
Yes.
85 to 100 million. That's when some of the Fox money kicked in. I
Yeah. Yeah.
think
Sure.
they started to get a little bit of online revenue at that point,
Yep.
and they
Yep.
went from 100 million to 200 million. It took them
16, about
17
16 years.
years. Yeah,
Yeah.
16,
Yeah.
17 years. They went from 208 million to 301 million since
In
2022.
5 years. Yeah. Well, you got to look. You got to wait till it gets to 400. Ness. 400
So
is our
since Lamar got in the league, it was 177 million was the quarterback. The
right.
quarterbacks were making 30 million, then 28 million,
Yep.
then
Yep.
right
Yep.
now the quarterbacks are moving towards 70 and 80 million
Yeah. It's
just in this
crazy.
period of time.
Crazy.
I mean, Joe Montana
But
and Dan Marino, none of those guys, even Peyton Manning would say it didn't ratchet up the way it's ratcheted up for Zay Flowers to be a $20 million
yeah.
wide
But
receiver
they
now.
also didn't have 7 or 8, I think it is, distribution channels fighting to pay them billions of dollars to show a game. You got Netflix, you got Peacock, you got YouTube, you got DirecTV, you got NFL Network,
Amazon,
ESPN, Amazon, CBS,
Apple.
ABC, NBC, Apple. Everybody's paying them money. Look, I have no problem with players getting all they can get. They have short careers. They play a game. It's entertainment, and nobody see. There is no what's the thing there you just showed salary cap. I just lost my brain. There is no salary cap in Hollywood, right? How much does a movie star make to make a movie?
Well,
A
they've
top
done the math on this that if they're giving Tom Cruise 20 million, the movie's worth 380 million plus
right,
back rights.
right,
They know they're ahead of the game if they get
right.
so many asses in the
But the
seats for the
point is they're
movie,
not
right?
giving them 20 million. Now stars are getting smart. They're getting big money or they're getting shares of box office or they own a part of the movie.
Melania got 40 million for hers, right?
Hey, beautiful. Look, if
Tony
you're
Robbins, by the way, underwrote that.
you
So just
get
so you know.
you get whatever money you can get from whoever you can get it. I believe this firmly. Absolutely to all our listeners positively. There is no look, I invest money for people for a living. It's part of what we do. Our goal is to help people grow wealth so they can have their American dream, take care of their kids, take care of charity, retire when they want, have the life they want along the way. You know, we've talked about it a million times. Here's the thing. There is no better investment you can make than an investment in yourself. More skills. If you're a mechanic, be the best mechanic you can possibly be. Demand more money for your services. If you're an advisor, get certifications, learn more, understand your craft better, get more money. The guy who hits 210 isn't getting the same as the guy hitting 299. The guy that hits 5 home runs ain't getting what the guy hitting 35 home runs. The pitcher, average, okay. The pitcher, Cy Young, a little more money. The guy who's an extra on the set doesn't make as much as Brad Pitt. So invest in yourself, figure out how to be the best possible you can be, get better skills, and market yourself and be worth more money. And when that happens, amazing things happen in your life. And so I don't begrudge a single player making any amount of money they ever make. Now,
Well, this is Tyler Linderbaum's week to figure that
to
out. It's
get
the
it,
Ravens' week to figure out
if they can keep him,
the value, right?
how important is he? Well, his value. So here we
Well,
are,
Todd Monken's one place.
right?
John Harbaugh's another place. He
Yes,
is certainly in a position that he's going to be bid upon and
yes.
then have to decide whether are the Ravens offering me the most money? Do I want to play with
Who
Lamar?
do I
I
want
want
to
to go
play
to
with?
Cleveland and lose and make
That's
more
right.
money? What do I
That's
want to
right.
do?
So
Myles Garrett's a great
here's
example
the
of
thing.
that, right?
Here's the thing. We have in sports this free agency and this notion of opportunity, the same as in the stock market. Okay? Everything that's known and knowable about a stock is in the price at every moment. Only new and unknown information causes that to change. So the future is what changes the value. Uh, he's going to be able to go out into the marketplace and find out what he's worth. And he's going to be bid upon. And then, like you said, he gets to choose where he wants to play, who he wants to play for, who he wants to play with, what he believes the prognosis, not the prognosis, the outlook for championship is. and say, this is where I want to be or this isn't where I want to be.
By the way,
Yes.
there was a
Yes.
quote this week
Yes.
from one of the Arizona Diamondbacks
Okay.
about why he picked Arizona. And he
Over,
said it's no
over,
secret that California's
over
taxes,
California. Right. Would be 15% state income taxes versus 3.
he said it was a 2.5 and 13 or whatever it
Yeah.
was, but you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know this.
Yep.
So just
It matters.
it matters. It does
And
matter.
Maryland,
And
Tyler's going to
hockey
have
is the greatest
10.
example of that, where the Winnipeg dollar and the Calgary dollar
Yeah.
could never compete with the New York
Not at the
dollar
moment.
over periods of time.
Right.
And that has always hamstrung teams in that
It does.
way, in the same way that the Montreal Expos were always a little hamstrung,
Yep.
about their participation in all of this.
Yeah.
It does matter.
But Toronto was in the World Series.
But for the person that signs,
Yes. Oh, yes. It makes a big difference. The dollar value and taxes. Look, that's part of the market decision. In Baltimore, he's going to have a 10% tax hit, in his situation.
what if he
And
signs with the Buccaneers?
zero state income tax. New York's going to be higher. He's going to be 13 going on 15. It depends where he is, and that's got to come into the equation. We work with people all the time where we're measuring the value. For instance, if you're looking at 2 companies to go to work for, salary's one, and then there's this package thing. It's called benefits. We look at benefits and salary as a package, and in there is where you're going to live. We had a gal who was in D.C. who had an opportunity to move to Washington State, no income tax. It was a totally different trajectory, both of cost of living and net income. And she chose Washington State. People do these things because they're motivated by their craft and by their dollar and their future, and it matters. It absolutely matters.
Well, you and I got sideways last week on our politics and which way you go and which way I go.
Yeah.
And then some people say, I don't worry about, I'm not interested in politics. And I'm like,
good. It's interested in you.
It affects everything.
It's interested in you.
The really rich people love that you're not interested because they exploit that.
Right.
But then there's the difference just here. You and I have talked about Delaware.
Yeah.
And you having a second home in Delaware. I know people that literally have moved their lives 180
Yeah, become
days,
a resident.
In
Sure.
Lewis and still keep a place here, whatever.
Yep.
And then there's the Pennsylvania thing where, like, Luke, and he's my employee, lives in another state, right? But it's across the line. His taxes are different. His parents made that exit 30 years ago from Essex and from East Baltimore. It was a better life for them, a bigger house, more of a farm out of the city.
Absolutely.
Different state, different all that. They vote for, whatever, Shapiro, Fetterman, whoever. They have completely different elections, different days, different everything, right?
50 experiments, man. 50 experiments.
Well, yeah, and I was going to say, like, even last week, that the guy who leads the country is so divisive that the men and the women on the hockey team were fighting with each other after both winning gold medals.
I don't think they were fighting
with
each other.
At the whole time here, we have 50 different states fighting. West Moore's fighting with West Virginia, and Delaware's fighting with Ocean City, just
for
about
businesses,
who's going to be in Fenwick and who's going to be 128th Street, and who's going to be 145th Street.
It's a big
and
difference.
It really is, like, this time of year, we talk about these football players.
Yes.
When I hear an athlete say this time of year when it's a lot of money, or when I have a business partner who won a Super Bowl that said, I can't die in Maryland because my family's going to get screwed out of $10 million if I die in Maryland.
The estate tax.
This becomes a real
the estate tax, like you said, right across the line in Delaware. Maryland is one of a very few states that have a state estate tax when you die. If you leave more than $5 million to an heir other than your spouse, Maryland starts taking. And as a couple, you die with more than $10 million of wealth, and you leave that to your children other than to charity, Maryland takes, and it could be up to 15, 16%. So Maryland wants their share of the wealth you've created during your lifetime before you transfer it to your children. Delaware, right next door, says, whatever you have, it's yours. Transfer it to your kids, it's theirs. We don't take any of that.
And that's an open invitation when you get to be my age to move to Delaware, right?
To move, to any almost any other state but Maryland. There's only a
But
few
you
that
have to have
have
$10
the
million
tax
to be thinking
to
about
make it
that. So
matter.
let's,
To
yeah.
make it matter, absolutely. But if you think about it here, let's talk about somebody who might have that. Okay, in
Or
the state of
somebody who
Maryland,
might not, like my wife or her
like a lot
family,
of
to say,
people.
I'm going to Florida on a fixed income and I'm just going to have a little bit more money
That's
and a
right.
little bit more sunshine
That's
and
right.
whatever,
That's
whatever it
right.
is, right?
Because they're not going to tax my Social Security, my pension, my IRA, my retirement income, and therefore I have a little more. But you got people, for instance, Ness, who've worked at McCormick, a local great company, for a long time. And they might have been filling bottles. They might have been driving a truck. They might have been in HR, whatever. Decent salary. They've been there 30 plus years. They're ready to retire. Do you know how much McCormick stock they might have accumulated over their lifetime? Could be millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. And then you add on to that, they bought a home, and maybe they have a little bit of life insurance.
And maybe
And
they
that's
bought a home in Shrewsbury 30 years ago
and
and
that's
saved
$10
on this
million
and saved on
dollars.
that or
And
whatever,
that's
right?
$10 million. It doesn't take much. I mean, it does take a lot. You got to do the right things. You had to work for it. But over a lifetime, time and wealth compounding could be $10 million. And Maryland says, we want some of that. Before you leave, we want it. Now, the U.S. government used to say, and like your salary cap chart, if you put up or look up the estate tax exemption, you'll see similarly that in my career, okay, it's grown from $600,000 per person, million two as a couple, done right, up to now 15 million a person, 30 million per couple. Takes a lot to get to that number before the federal tax hits. It's a big number, but Maryland says 10. So most states go along with the federal or have none. Maryland says 10. Florida's no income tax. Maryland's 10. When you look at the top and Tyler and Lamar and the rest, they're going to pay that. Now, there is one other little variable which you have to look at in sports, which a lot of other people don't really think about, depending upon your business, that is. You pay taxes in the state where you earn it.
Well, in the case of
So,
Lamar, if this were his year to want to go play for the Miami Dolphins
yeah, right.
as his advisor, or
Yes.
even the Las Vegas Raiders,
Sure. Another state with no income tax.
right? That's why I'm bringing this up
Yes,
for you.
yes,
As
yes.
opposed, I didn't you didn't hear me say the Chargers or the
Right.
Rams or the
Right.
49ers or
Right.
wherever taxes wouldn't be so favorable. The fact that you would be his advisor and
Yep.
you would say, Lamar, you're making $65 million a year.
Yep.
You're getting banged at how much of that in Maryland that you wouldn't
Call
have
it 10
in Florida?
points.
10 points.
$6.5 million.
$6.5 million a year over the next 4 years. Going to cost you $20 million more to play
Plus,
for the Ravens.
plus the lost opportunity of what you can't earn on that money because it's gone forever.
Right. You can't invest what you didn't make.
Right.
You can't compound zero.
That's what you can.
You can
You don't get
zero.
much of it.
You can pound on zero.
You can get nothing on it.
Leonard Raskin is here. He manages money, Raskin Global. This is a fascinating conversation.
Quickly, though, let's talk about one other thing, though. The other side of that coin.
Because when a Florida team wants a football player, they stand a 10% better chance of getting him.
Well, but there's another side to that coin you got to take a look at. The federal tax, okay, is 37% at that level. All right? So here's the question for Lamar, Tyler, anybody considering what you're talking about.
The first 20's gone already.
Yeah, so let's talk about what we're talking about here for real. Am I working with good counsel who is going to help me understand ways to mitigate my federal tax bill? So if I could cut away, let's just say half of your federal tax bill and cause you to pay 50% of the bill to the U.S. Treasury versus what you're going to pay with no good counsel, then Maryland's tax.
What is good counsel there? Charity, putting money in different places?
Lots of strategies to save tax, absolutely. There's lots of ways to save federal income taxes. It takes work, but there are ways to save it. And so if I can save the federal tax, and some of that would also save me some state tax. But more importantly, if I cut the 37 in half, the 10 is a lot more manageable and I get to play where I want. The thing people don't understand is the difference between playing for Baltimore or Miami is only the 10% tax if you don't have any planning. If you think about things you can do with your money to offset that, then it doesn't matter what state you pay in. You're in America. You got to pay the America tax. Let's cut some of that. Let's cut the federal tax and not worry about the state so much. But it is still a horrible state to die in if you have wealth.
He is Leonard Raskin. He's Raskin Global. Anything else you got on your mind here as we get into spring and
Well,
springing and,
I think
the World Baseball Classic?
There is one other thing, non-sports, we should talk about, the elephant in the room, and that is the stock market in the face of foreign wars, attacks overseas. So I just want to put this out to our listeners again. Similarly, if, this is a big if you are calling your broker, your advisor, or expecting or receiving a call from your advisor this week to say we need to do X, Y, or Z because of what's happening internationally with bombs and things around the world right now, you have a bad plan. Your plan, your assets, your structure of your wealth should be designed to be ready for the occurrence of something happening in the world, whatever that something is. Okay, so I just want people to be clear. If your broker's calling you to say we got to do this, that, or the other because of, it's a bad call. Nobody can predict the future. Nobody knows what's going to come next. And making changes because of is a bad deal, a mistake. Or your plan is bad.
So you're saying there's no wartime investing versus non-wartime investing?
Relative to making changes to your plans, exactly. You should be in a structure that works no matter what. War, no war. You should be allocated, structured the way your assets should be, and they should be built for the what-ifs. And you should avoid it and ride it through and come out the other side with exactly what you had going in. If you're calling your advisor about this, be very careful if they say do something rather than wait it out. If your advisor's calling you do something, be careful what you're hearing instead of ride it out. Activity does not equal control. Control is understanding beforehand what you should be in so that during you can weather it so you come out on the other side of after. So if you think you need to make a call, make sure you're comfortable with what you had and that it's right for where you're going. If it's not, that's a bad plan beforehand. Again, if your advisor's calling you to say something.
It's never a bad day to restructure your plan. You and I are doing that later this week.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is your asset allocation investments based on this. Don't go out and buy Northrop Grumman stock because we're in a war and they're a defense contractor. Don't sell Northrop Grumman stock because we're in a war. My point is specific moves that somebody may tell you to make because of should have been made already. If it was appropriate for you to do, it was appropriate for you to do. If it's not, it's not. Don't let this be the trigger that changes what you have in your plans for the long term.
Don't let the last hand deal with how you're going to play the next hand.
Yeah, short term means nothing. You know, what happens when they spin that wheel, whether it's red or black, is completely irrelevant to the next spin. Just stay the course where you are. Be comfortable that you have the right plan. If you don't have the right plan, that's when you need to adjust, but not because of. It's an overall look at your financial life and the decisions you've made. That's more important than what's going on right now.
Leonard Raskin will sit down with you and do that at Raskin Global, and you can find him out at Baltimore Positive as well as at raskinglobal.com as we calm down here a little bit during the tampering period and get ready for opening day of baseball. And no March Madness for the Terps this year.
No,
but
will not happen.
The Caps have been representative, though, now that they're back on
close.
the ice, right?
They're close. They're fighting for the playoff spot. They have to win a few games. They're a little bit behind. They had some stall there, if you will.
Well, the Olympics are weird too. Every team's getting like the World Baseball Classic's going to do that with the baseball this week.
Right. So the Caps have a little bit of making up wins to do, but they're looking good coming out of the break. They're looking good, and the O's, again, I think here's what I will say: the Olympics have made, I think, the baseball classic will make it a little better. Because nationalism, pride is running high across the U.S. sports genre. I think it'll be interesting to see what the outcome is of this. I mean, last time they played, it was what? U.S. Japan in the finals. It was an amazing final game. Uh,
I went to the World Baseball Classic in '09 at Dodger Stadium. It was 50,000
yeah,
Japanese folks
right,
and Team USA. Davey
right.
Johnson was managing it. I was on the field.
Yep.
Brian Roberts played in that, and Jeremy Guthrie played in that. I saw Roy Oswalt pitch. I was telling Luke the story about that. But here's the real story because you manage my money. Um, about 3 months ago, I was planning a trip in March that was right
Yep.
around March 11th or
Yeah,
12th,
yeah,
and the trip could have gone through Miami. And in Miami next Wednesday night, the
yeah.
11th, Team Venezuela is
There you go.
playing the Dominican.
There you
And I'm
go.
like,
That
well,
should be a
that'd be a
good
great
game.
game, right?
That
Great
should be a
game,
good
right?
game,
How
right?
much do you think tickets are for that baseball game in Little Havana in Miami,
500
Dominican,
bucks.
Dominican
500 bucks.
Venezuela? It was 330 when I looked. It's down to like 220 right
Okay.
now for a
Okay.
get in. But if you
Yeah.
want to get into that game, now if you want to go see Team Israel play Mexico, it's $7 or
Right.
whatever. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like some
Sure.
of these games are, there's nobody
But
Nicaragua,
that
nobody's got,
game,
but
that
right.
game's going to be big. That's
But
going to
that
be a
game
big game.
is off the charts big. And then,
Yeah.
if you get through, Houston and Miami are going to host games next weekend.
Right.
There will be a lot of enthusiasm. And hey, to
Yes,
this day,
indeed.
Adam Jones came out and spoke last year at the Connects event, which I'm sure
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
familiar
Yeah.
with up on
Yep.
Valley.
Yep.
And, I think he even said on the dace, like that memory of him with Machado and representing
Yep.
the USA in the World Baseball Classic. He
Right.
didn't get to play in a World Series. He didn't get to do that. Like
But
that,
that's
that
it.
catch
That's
is a
cool.
highlight of his
That's cool.
career.
That's right.
And I did tell this story to Luke, and I'll tell you this one, Leonard, because your wife's into the Olympics. You like the Olympics.
Yeah.
My wife
Yeah.
likes the Olympics, and you like the USA, and we did all of that last week. My wife and I got into this whether I'm into the Olympics enough. Like Dave Sheinin gave me a hard time about that too. I'm like, I've been on the air 35 years, and I started like my wife and I had a glass of wine and watching the Olympics 2 weeks ago. I'm like, I've had Carl Lewis in the studio.
Right.
I had Muhammad Ali. I mean, I'm thinking of like Mary Lou Retton was my all-time favorite
There you go.
Olympian,
There you
right?
go.
So I found all these pictures and I found the first wave of them. Hannah Teeter, Bonnie Blair,
Right.
Dan Jansen. I didn't forgot who they, she's like, yeah, that's Dan Jansen. You met Dan Jansen. I had a crush on him. I'm like,
Right.
great. So then I'm like, I couldn't find Dorothy Hamill. And I found it. And I'm like, cool. So I found some more pictures. I found my Bart Connor and Nadia
There you go.
Comaneci autographs when they
There you
came in.
go.
So I'm going through all these Olympic names that I have. I didn't have Bruce Jenner or not Bruce
Well, the
Jenner, right?
question
And any of
is,
the Jenners.
question is, are you enamored with the mystique that they are? You're not, because they're just people.
Hmm.
That's the thing.
I never had Michael Phelps on, but I have had his mother.
There you
And
go.
the first ever byline I ever had in a newspaper when I was 15 years old
Right.
was in the summer 1984. I wrote about Teresa Andrews, who I still have never met, winning a gold medal with Murray Stevens at the North Baltimore Aquatic Club,
Teresa
which later
Andrews.
would spawn Michael Phelps and everything
Right.
that ever happened
Right.
after that, right, for Baltimore and
Right.
for Olympic glory. So Baltimore's got a little Olympic history, including Sugar
Yeah,
Ray
of
Leonard,
course.
Palmer
Of
Park, Maryland,
course.
right? So I had pictures of Sugar Ray Leonard with me and Hugh Jackman.
There you
So
go.
so impressed my wife, and then I'm trying to impress myself and thinking, all right, how many Olympians have I really had on? And I started
Right.
thinking, going 35 years of radio. Who won them? Beth Botsford has been in my studio. You probably know her dad, Kevin, managed
Sure.
money around here forever. So, and she was like Beth Botsford's my heart. I love Beth Botsford. I just love Beth. Beth put the gold medal on me in
There you
1996 in my
go.
studio. Kid from Atlanta. You let me chew on it, the whole deal. So I thought about this and I did like, hey, I think Mark McGuire won a gold medal. And I'm like, hey, I went to China with Cal Ripken
There you
for
go.
the Olympics in '08. I wonder if I had any of the Olympians on. Well, lo and behold, I went to the back of the rack and I thought of a guy. He happens to be a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, and
It's
you would
okay.
never think of him as having won an Olympic gold medal, but he has one, and he's bragged about it on my show, and it's been a long time. Rick Krivda. Rick Krivda has an Olympic gold medal and a jersey in his closet that says
It's
USA,
awesome.
that he represented America. And if you don't think that's the highlight of his
Absolutely.
career in life, and it certainly hasn't been a Steelers championship in a while. If he hears that, he's a Steeler guy. So
Right.
it is amazing, the Olympics, and I've had a rich history with Team USA and cheering for
Amen.
America and waving the flag in Germany at the World Cup. So, I mean,
Right.
come on.
Right. No, I get it, man. That's what it's all about. And for some of these guys, some of these people, it's clearly their greatest, largest single hit. I mean, I'd be thrilled to wear a jersey there and be part of that. I think
I
it's
even found
amazing.
my Eruzione picture to
Up, up.
legitimize myself. How about that?
There you go.
All right,
He's the man.
so
Captain.
USA, there you go. I got you
Captain
all
Mike.
fired up for Gunnar
No, I
Henderson.
think it's,
And the only thing we
yeah,
care about
Gunner's going to
really
be
is
there.
that he doesn't get hurt.
Right. Right. Ask Sidney Crosby about that.
Absolutely. All right. And Diaz. He is Leonard Raskin. He manages money. We had a little educational moment here this
There
week
you go.
on Baltimore Positive. I am Nestor. We are WNST AM 1570. We never stop talking. Baltimore Positive. Stay with us.